Good morning. It is Friday morning. I'm Scott Cullen, editor-in-chief of the Cannata Report. Great to be with you. And we are here for another episode of Fridays with Frank. And before I bring out Frank, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and send Frank your questions. He loves to respond. And Frank, how are you this morning and what's on your mind?
Well, to be honest, I'm still recovering from the gala. It really got to us. It was a great event, and boy, I got to tell you, I'm slowly recovering, but I'm getting there. Any rate, a lot of good things to talk about. I've become more optimistic about the future the more I look at the results of our 38th survey. And the question, I guess, our audience should ask, well, what's got your attention? Well, generally, when you have an economy in the downturn, you don't have a lot of expansion with specific manufacturers or new manufacturers. In other words, dealers reaching out for new suppliers. The 38th showed us that Epson had 15 dealers that they put that said Epson was their primary source for A3. That came from almost nowhere. Prior year was what, 3, 2, something like that. And along with Xerox had 16. So now we both know that there were 458 dealers. So percentile wise, it's small. But I'm looking at from a growth perspective. And also, I'm only talking about first position. If you start adding in where they were in second, third, and fourth, they have a significant presence. So that encourages me to say, okay, the dealers have found something that initially that they put in fourth position, third position, second position. Now they're starting to move them up to primary, because no dealer generally takes on a new line and immediately said, this is my primary A3 line. No way, it doesn't happen that way. So that's what's got my interest. And it's interesting if you look at the dealers that put Epson first versus Xerox. At Epson, the average revenue was 2.65 million. The Xerox was 4.72. It was interesting that there were a couple of, in the 16, there were a couple that were reasonably significant. And the reason is they're doing production print in a pretty strong way. It was obvious. So you had those two factors. And then if you took a look at A4, now typically we've been tracking Lexmark, Brother, Sharp, Kyocera as the 4 main drivers of A4 for our industry. Well, look out, guys, there's a new boy in town. Brother had 19 dealers in first place and a total of 76 from all positions. And the total revenue of those 76 was through the roof. So these weren't small or insignificant dealers. I like seeing that. I mean, not that I want to see any of the traditional 4 to 2 less, but that's a good sign as far as any way I can measure it. So we can take that as an optimistic view of the future, and certainly it will impact my comments for our issue, for our December-January issue when we talk about the forecast for next year. That's got to be a factor. When you can add 3 vendors like that to the mix, what does that mean? Well, each of them are bringing something to the table that dealers felt they didn't have before, or they had less of. In Epson's case, it's inkjet. And it's clear that those dealers that are taking on not only the A3, many of them are taking on the white format, which is a win-win. Xerox, again, the obvious is the attraction is production print without any question. But also the dealers are taking on the A3 line. So when 16 say that A3 for them is the first, Xerox is number one, that's pretty significant. And then you go to A4 and you look at Brother, they had 19 that they jumped over HP, Lexmark, who for years traditionally in our business were the two dominant A4 players. I think if we went back a few surveys, you'd probably see maybe between the two of them at least 30 to 40% of the dealers having one or the other in first place. And then, of course, Kyocera. It's a factor. Also, the revenue that the Brother dealers are demonstrating show that these are the serious players. So I would have to say, on balance, just kind of going through the survey, looking for some new or different nuances as to what can tell us about the future. We have to say it's very clear these new suppliers are making a significant impact, and that has to be for the good. Now, what will be the response to Epson, Xerox, and Brother? It's got to be a good competitive response, so you increase the quality of the competition. So overall, I'm really, really excited about it, and look forward to talking more about it in our piece about 2024. That's it, Scott.